Chapter 6. I remember the first time I read a Jonah Forrester book. I was about 8 or 9 years old, and my mother had taken me to the library for the 1000th time, hoping I would finally find something I would be interested in. But as usual, my reaction to everything she put in front of me was the same. No, don't think so. Definitely not. You're kidding, right? Then we turned a corner in the children's section, and I saw a big poster that said, "Thanks for coming to the library." There was a picture of a man in a dark suit and sunglasses, smiling with just a hint of a fang sticking out under his top lip. "Who's that guy?" I asked my mom. "I don't know, but he's creeping me out," she said. I kept staring up at him until a librarian walked over. "That's Jonah Forrester," she said. "He's a vampire, but he uses his powers for the good of mankind. He's the star of a series of wonderful books by the author Elroy Evans. Would you like to see one?" My mom shook her head. "He's a little young. I'm not sure that's a good—" "Yes, please," I said. Fact. Kids are more likely to want to read something if their parents don't want them to read it. I ended up reading all 5 Jonah Forrester books in about 3 months. Needless to say, Elroy Evans is my favorite author ever, which is why when I was lying on my bed later that night trying to get over the embarrassing event at Isaac's bakery, I suddenly had a crazy idea. I got up, went into the living room, sat down at the computer, and started typing. "Dear Mr. Evans, I think I'm probably your biggest fan. I've read all your books over and over again. I love Jonah Forrester, and I think he's pretty much the best vampire ever created. I really hope to meet you one day and ask you all about your stories. But in the meantime, I have 2 very important questions to ask you, since you are an expert. How do you know if someone is a vampire? And how can you tell if a vampire might not be a vampire anymore? Just so you know, this is not about me. I am not a vampire. But I have always thought someone I know is a vampire, and now I'm not so sure. So I was just wondering if you could help me solve this mystery. Also, this girl I like thinks believing in vampires is childish, and I would love to prove her wrong. I hope you write lots more Jonah Forrester books because my parents always tell me I should be reading new books instead of reading your books over and over again. Your biggest fan, like I said, Jimmy Bishop." "What are you doing?" I whipped around to see my big sister, Misty, standing there. She was wearing a bathrobe and had her hair in curlers. Question: Do girls know how ridiculous they look when their hair is in curlers? Answer: yes, but they don't care because it's all worth it in the end. Profile: Name: Misty Bishop. Age: older than me, which will never not be irritating. Occupation: student, sister, celebrator of my misfortune. Interests: her phone, all caps, intentional. I quickly tried to X out of the program I was in, but Misty was too quick for me. She slapped my hands away, read my letter, and let out a loud laugh. "Ha! That is adorable." Fact: sometimes adorable doesn't mean adorable. Sometimes it means you gotta be kidding me. I closed the computer a little too late, but I did it anyway. It's none of your business. It's none of your business is what it is. Are you actually going to send that? Are you actually going to ask him if your dog is really a vampire? I sucked in a deep breath. I have no idea what you're talking about. Come on, Jimmy. Everyone knows about your crazy theory. It's common knowledge. She snorted. And P.S., no offense, but it is kind of childish. Fact: when people start a sentence with "no offense," they're about to say something really offensive. I thought for a second. Irwin or Baxter must have mentioned my theory about Abby to Chad, and Chad told his brother Jared, and Jared told his girlfriend, who happens to be my sister, Misty. I made a mental note to get mad at Irwin and Baxter and Chad later. "So what?" I said to Misty. "I can write to Elroy Evans if I want, and you can't stop me." Misty started playing with one of her curlers. "Of course I can't stop you, silly. And personally, I think it's great that you have a wild imagination." I looked at her in shock. "You do?" "Yep." Then she giggled. "As long as you realize that he's never, ever, ever, ever going to write you back. He's a famous author, and they don't have time for little kids with crazy theories." "Says you," I said, "and I'm not a little kid." Misty smacked me on the arm. "Go right ahead, fanboy. If you're lucky, maybe his agent's assistant will send you a picture with a fake autograph from one of those machines." And she bounced out of the room, curlers and all. Forget you, I said, mostly to myself. Then I opened up the computer and finished my letter. P.S. Please write back so I can show my sister.